Good morning, YouTube. This is Johnny. Today is a Monday. It is June the 17th, 2024. It is 8:47 in the morning here inside the Hermit Hut. Waking up to a Monday. It's a Monday. I was writing in my diary, like I'm always writing. I'm a diary writer, I'm a reader, I'm a dreamer. I'm a stranger in a foreign land, a pilgrim. Just seeking to hang in there. So yeah, this morning on my paper diary, I'm on page 516. Blurry. 16. Reason why I show my page number is because some people might say, oh, he doesn't write 516 pages. He doesn't. And sometimes you'll come across people who say, yeah, I write every day in my diary. Every day I keep a journal. And you never see it. They say they're always writing, but you never see any evidence that they actually write. So that's why I do it. I mean, like a couple of videos back, I showed you my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. Because I'm always saying, well, I went to Bible college and seminary. Well, how you know I'm lying to you? I might be lying. I might have never gone to college. I might have never gone to seminary. That I could just be something, because you don't know me. So that's why I show evidence of these historical realities. You come across people on, YouTube or BookTube who say, well, I speak several foreign different languages, and I've gone to India and I've hunted tigers, and I've gone to Africa and I've seen giraffes. Well, how do you know that they're not just telling you a story? They could just be making all this up. I mean, anybody can be who they want to be in YouTube or BookTube. They could just make up this whole world that doesn't really exist, that they're just fantasizing. So that's why I know I have an obsession, and I've mentioned this. I've been making videos. I looked it up. I've been making videos from, I think, August 2015. And even though I've been on YouTube for 10 years, but I think I've only been making videos related to books and my diary and my Christian life for the last 8 years. I've done over 1,000 videos. And but I have this obsession, and I don't know where it comes from, about being real. I don't know. It's like sometimes you wish you could free yourself from certain obsessions or insecurities or fears. And I have this thing, I have to be real, even though sometimes in my life. Now, as you all know, in August of this year, I'm going to turn 72 years old. I got to keep reminding myself how old I am, because sometimes you wake up in the morning and you think, I should be out working. I should be out making money. I should be doing this or that. But when you get my age, I tell myself, well, you're retired. You don't have to do a lot of things that you would have to do if you were younger, like go to school or get a job or take your kids to school. We've raised our children. They're married. We have grandchildren, and my wife is retired from nursing, and I retired back in 2007. And so all I have to do is try to keep my eyes on Jesus. So I'm 71 years old. I get up in the morning and immediately I wake up and think, oh no, another day. But then I realize I don't have to do anything. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have any appointments. I can just sit inside this house in this nice little quiet college town by Lake Michigan, and I can read the Bible. This morning, when I got up, my wife was dressed. She was dressed. She went out to do shopping and do errands. But before she left, we read from as you know, we're going to the New Testament, where we read Romans this morning. We read Romans 15. Tomorrow is Romans 16, and then we're done. And then we go into 1 Corinthians, the first epistle of Paul the Apostle to the Corinthians. So then, gone through the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles, the Epistle of Romans, and now we're going into 1 Corinthians. And then we read the Valley of Vision, a collection of Puritan prayers and devotions. And then we prayed, and then my wife left, and I messed with the internet, checked my email, looked at the world news, which is very depressing. And so what I thought I'd do in this video, in time remaining, is do a Monday Reads. What do I plan to read this week? As you all know, I'm a mood reader. But in the mornings, as you all know, I read my Christian books. Since I'm a Christian, you know, I'm not a pagan, I'm not a barbarian, I'm not a part of the mafia, you know. I'm not a Hindu, I don't practice yoga, you know, I'm not a part of Hamas. Anyway, I'm a Christian, which means I seek to live unto the Lord. I mean, you know, like I said, what is a Christian? Well, I always told my kids, a Christian is one who has a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, who seeks to walk with Christ, have communion with Christ, seeks to live in the shadow of the cross of Christ, and things like that. But in the mornings, I've been reading Predestination in Early Modern Reformed Theology by Richard A. Muller. I'm in here on Calvin on Predestination. I read the one, Predestination in the Eras of Reformation and Early Reformed Orthodoxy. I read The Placement of Predestination in Reformed Theology, and now I'm on Essay 3 by Richard A. Muller, Calvin on Predestination, a developmental and bibliographical essay. So I'm reading that in the mornings. And then I read these two books on the doctrines of grace. And yesterday I read the day before, Ruined Sinners to Reclaim Sin and Depravity in Historical and Biblical, Theological and Pastoral Perspectives, edited by David Gibson and Jonathan Gibson. I've been reading the essay in here on, I started reading this a couple of days ago. It's a long one. It's called From Eden to Exile. From Eden, the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, to the exile. As I mentioned in those videos just recently about Old Testament theology, as you go through the history of Israel and Judah, they worshipped idols, they broke the covenant, and therefore God brought down judgment on them, and the Assyrians and Babylonians came in, and they took Israel and Judah into exile, And after the exile, the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the minor prophets, they prophesize of the restoration, the return of the exile, and this is what this essay refers to. From the time of the fall of Adam and Eve in the garden up until the exile. So I've been reading that. The story of sin is called From Eden to Exile, from story of sin in Genesis, the 2nd Kings. And then I'm going to read this morning, From Heaven He Came and Sought Her. From heaven, the Lord Jesus Christ, He came, He was on a divine mission. He sought her, He sought His people, the church. And this is on definitive atonement. He died for her. He died for the church in historical and biblical and theological and pastoral perspectives by David Gibson and Jonathan Gibson. And in here I've been reading blaming Beza, the development of definitive atonement in the Reformed tradition. Okay. Every in the mornings, I gotta clear my throat. And then I've been going Reformation commentary on Isaiah chapters 1 through 39. I'm on Isaiah chapter 6, which is a very famous chapter. It says in chapter 6, verses 1 through 13, it says in the beginning, it says in chapter 6 of Isaiah, in the year the king Hosea died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Well, it says here, the trim, the fringes of his garment filled the temple. And each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And the one called one to another and said, Holy, holy, Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory. What I found interesting is that you read about Isaiah chapter 6 in the Gospel of John. It says in the Gospel of John, if I can remember where it is, it says, I don't know if I can find it now, but because it's been a while. Oh, I should have looked it up, but I didn't. Anyway, it says that, I thought it was in chapter 12. I'm looking in Luke. How can I find it in Luke? It's not Luke 12, it's John 12. I'm looking in Luke. I mean, I gotta wake up here. I got up at 7:30, so I'm not really fully awake. I know how I'll find it. I'll look in here in the my Bible. It should have a reference to it. So yeah, today is a Monday. It's a new week, and I don't really have anything going on. We'll see how I can find it. John chapter 6. Yeah, it's John 12:41. I knew it was John 12:41. So it says in John Therefore they could not believe, because Isaiah said, he who has blinded their eyes, hardened their hearts, lest they should see with their eyes, and lest they should understand with their hearts, and turn so that they should heal them. These things Isaiah said when he saw his glory and spoke of him. See, it says here in Isaiah chapter 6 of Isaiah, in the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his temple, the train of his robe filled the temple. Holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. And then it says here, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Whom will go for us? Then I said, here I am, send me. And he said, go and say to these people, keep on hearing, but do not understand. Keep on seeing, but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull, and their ears heavy, and blind their eyes, and understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. So he's quoting from Isaiah chapter 6 here in the Gospel of John chapter 12. But it says, these things Isaiah said when he saw the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, in his glory. That's the point. So we have a reference to the deity of Christ. What Isaiah saw there in chapter 6 of Isaiah was the glory of the Lord, the Son of God. So that just always strikes me. So I'm reading Isaiah in the mornings. I'm on Isaiah chapter 6. And then in the evenings I've been reading City Poet, The Life and Times of Frank O'Hara by Brad Gooch. I've read 311 pages of this. And then I've been reading, I bought this because I told you John Ashbery was a poet along with Frank O'Hara. They were friends. They knew each other when they were in New York City there, and they're both poets. So that's why I got this. This is The Songs We Know Best, John Ashbery's Early Life. So I'm almost done with this. I've read 157 pages. So I've been reading this along with Frank O'Hara's poetry and John Ashbery's poetry. And then to relax, I've been reading Philip Kerr, The Other Side of Silence, a Bernie Gundry novel. Reading James by Percival Everett, James, a novel. And reading The Whole World, The Letters of James Murrell, who is another famous poet, edited by Langdon Hammer. Langdon Hammer wrote a biography of James Murrell. I'm supposed to get in the mail sometime this month, and I plan to read that because I'm almost finished with the biography on Frank O'Hara. And I'm still reading Miss MacIntosh, My Darling by Marguerite Young. Well, as I told you, every night I take my nightly shower and I come up here in the dining room and I read Miss MacIntosh, My Darling. And that's my bookmarker right there. I've read, this is over 1,000, it's like 1,321 pages this novel is. And I've read thus far 895. I'm on chapter 60. Chapter 60. I thought about reading what it's like reading Miss MacIntosh, My Darling. It's been really an experience, but as I've said, it's the best way to read this novel. And what I do is I try to read at least 10, 15, 20 pages a night. And if I'm not going into a trance state or getting sleepy or falling asleep, I'll read more. I think last night I read 15 pages. And so that's how you read this. The other day I was watching a booktuber and he showed this book and he gave a little synopsis of it. And by listening to him, I realized he had not read the book. You find that in booktube. People will show books. Oh yeah, I read this book, It's over 1,000 pages and they give you a little synopsis. And then you realize that the synopsis that they're telling you is something they read off the internet. They didn't really actually read the book. So I'm always kind of weary of that. I don't profess to read from cover to cover all the books that I show you, but I do plan to read this to the end, and because I have enjoyed reading it. I found it a unique reading experience. And also, if you can read a book like this and discipline yourself to read it, you can read anything. You can sit down and read Ruined Sinners to Reclaim. Now this book is, how long is this book? This book is almost 997 pages. Well, if I can sit down and read Mrs. MacIntosh, My Darling, which is over 1,000 pages, why can't I read something that's 900 and something pages? So, if you read something that like Mrs. MacIntosh, My Darling, and you stick with it and you discipline yourself and you make a commitment, you can read War and Peace, or you can read James Joyce's Ulysses, or you can read Flanagan's Wake by James Joyce. You can read any kind of thing if you can stick with this thing and read it to the end. And maybe the best way to read certain things is have a reading plan. Well, I'm going to read this amount of pages each day, because you're not really in a rush. You don't have to read something, well, I got to read Mrs. MacIntosh in 4 weeks. Well, maybe it'll take you 6 months. Maybe it might take you a year. Maybe you read it for a while and then you put it aside and you read something else. So one thing about Mrs. MacIntosh, My Darling, there is no narrative, there is no plot, there is nothing. It's just a constant, repetitious kind of chant, flow, poetry kind of epic. So you can pick it up any time and read it and not, lose the flow. So yeah, here I am on June the 17th, 2024, writing in my diary, and I'll be reading those books I'll show you throughout the week. As you know, my wife leaves this week for the Gospel Coalition Women's Writers Conference, so I'll be making videos, reading. Well, this morning, like I said, I'm going to be reading From Heaven He Came and Sought Her. It's on definitive atonement. And we've already read from Romans, and we read the Valley of Vision, and we prayed. Also, I read every morning. I'll read a little bit of this, Predestination, the Early Modern Reformed Theology by Richard A. Muller. So it's going on 25 minutes. It's been yesterday it was 90. We shut the house up and turned the air conditioner on. And and my wife went out to do errands and grocery shop, and nothing else to report. thank you for your comments on those videos. I know they're kind of crazy, but you know, like I said, I have this thing, obsession, not to be a phony, not to be a fake. And maybe that's why I never went into the gospel ministry, because I'm a mess. I'm not polished. I'm not professional. I like wearing old clothes. I'm not materialistic. I just love books. Give me a pen and piece of paper. Give me the Bible. And I'm content. I'm not into the world. I'm not into Vanity Fair, the ship of fools. I'm just into God, into Jesus. So I hope you have a good reading week. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the new subscribers. Do pray they're all going to have a good week. It's supposed to be a hot week throughout the whole country. Global warming, signs of the end times, rumors of war. And so yeah, beware of dictatorships. So at the next time, I hope you have a good reading week. I might make a video. I still have a pile of thrift store books downstairs that I might show. And I'll do those videos showing bookshelf tours. I'll do that too this week. So once again, thank you for just being out there. I do pray you're all doing well. And may the Lord bless. Until next time, bye.